Good day, everyone. So this will be a video on work, energy, and power. We'll be dealing first with work. So you can see here the objectives that we have. We have calculated dot or scalar product of vectors, but definitely we'll just be discussing what's the difference between scalar and cross products, or dot or cross products. Determine the work done by a force, and define work as a scalar or dot product of force and displacement. Okay. So work is basically a dot product. Pag sinabi nating dot product, anong ibig sabihin yan? So first, let's go back to our mathematics. Okay? Let's recall our mathematics wherein A times B or AXB is the same with A dot B, right? So in your mathematics, when you say AXB is just AB, A dot B is just AB, right? You know that A, the one with the X times x, which is just times, is used in elementary, while a dot b is used in junior high school. In mathematics, they're the same. However, in physics, they're actually different in a sense that a cross b is a cross product, while a dot b is a dot product. Anong difference nito? Still, it's still multiplication in a sense because we're talking about products, but A and B here are two vectors which are both multiplied with each other. Pag sinabi natin cross product, these are vectors which are perpendicular with each other. While dot product, these are vectors that are parallel with each other. When you get A dot B, which is the dot product, this is basically talking about how parallel the two vectors are, while A cross B, which is the cross product, talks about how perpendicular the two vectors are. We talked about work as a dot product. So, ibig sabihin, work is a scalar quantity because it's a scalar product of force and displacement. Pag sinabi natin dot product, ibig sabihin na makukuha mong final value is a scalar quantity. Okay, so a scalar product or a dot product is a product of two vectors which becomes a scalar quantity. It answers the questions how parallel the two vectors are, while A dot B is basically, in a specific definition, is just AB cosine theta. Okay, so this happens when you want to get the direction kung meron kang angle involved. So work, the unit of work is basically joules. Work is related to energy and it's a product of force and displacement or distance. In this case, as we have mentioned a while ago, since it's a scalar product, work is a scalar quantity. So again, it's related to energy. We'll be discussing that on the next video. Let's look into the unit of work, which is joules. So work is just equivalent. Work is equivalent to force times displacement, or F dot T, or basically this becomes F cosine theta D, right? But if we're just going to strictly look into the unit, force is from the basic, from your laws of motion, is just Newton, while your displacement is meter. So 1 Newton meter is equivalent to 1 joule. Okay, let's review as well for your force in your laws of motion. Force is equivalent to mass times acceleration, or kilogram times meter per second squared, which is just equivalent to 1 Newton. So please don't forget these units because it's very important or essential in solving your problems. Pag alam mo yung kung anong unit na hinahanap mo, it's easier for you to manipulate the formula. Now, there are different conditions for work to occur. Before natin masabi that there is work, you have to first satisfy these three conditions. There must be force, there must be distance, and the force and distance must be parallel with each other. So, for example, you have here Ma'am Mars. Sabihin natin si Ma'am Mars ay nandito. And she is pushing a small box. Okay? She is pushing a small box on the ground. O, basta, yun na yan. So, she's pushing it to the right, and the movement of the box is also going to the right. Let's first check the different conditions. May force bang applied si Ma'am Mars? Meron. May distance ba yung box na minove ni Ma'am Mars? Meron. Are the force and distance parallel with each other? Yes, because they're both going on the same directions. Ibig sabihin, these three conditions of work, these three conditions tells us that the pushing of the box has work, or there is work on done on the box itself. Okay. So, let's identify paano naman nangyayari na pwedeng walang work na nangyayari. For example, meron kang isang box dyan na walang gumalaw. May force ba? May displacement? May distance ba? May movement ba? Wala. So, ibig sabihin, yung dalawang conditions natin ay wala. So, ibig sabihin, wala siyang work. Okay? So, let's try another one. So, halimbawa, si Ma'am Mars, nagpo-push siya ng wall. Maalang, trip niya lang mag-push ng wall. So, she's pushing the wall to the right. Siyempre, di man mo kasog si Ma'am Mars, di niya naman move. So, is there force? Yes, meron. Is there movement on the wall? Mayo. Di niya man na-move si wall. So, ibig sabihin, hindi kaagad siya papasok in terms of the conditions. So, kahit hindi natin tingnan yung third one, ibig sabihin po, walang work done on the wall. Okay? Sige. The last one is talking about how parallel they are with each other. Because since we're talking about dot product, we're talking about how parallel they are with each other. So pag perpendicular na ang force and then the distance is also the force and distance are perpendicular with each other, ibig sabihin there is no work. Ang pinaka-basic example po nito ay lahat ng mga binubuhat or mga dala-dala, carrying a bag, holding a backpack. Because basically, for example, sige, you are carrying a bag or holding something. Okay? So, you're holding something. So, the force applied on, halimbawa, a plate, halimbawa, waiter siya, yung force applied niya is going upward because he is supporting the plate, right? But the movement of the person is going to the left, to the right, or to the back, and to the front. So, this is not parallel with each other. They are perpendicular. So, lahat ng mga terms na holding, carrying, that's automatic a parallel, a perpendicular way of perspective. So, ibig sabihin, the force and distance there are not parallel with each other, but rather they are perpendicular. So, ibig sabihin, itong conditions na to will tell you that there is no work. Okay, although the person is moving, the force done is different kasi it's going upward kung mga kung mga carrying and mga holding lang siya. But nakakita kayo yung ganun na term, that's automatic a scenario that tells us that there is zero or no work done. Okay, sige, alam na natin yan. Let's look at the different types of work in a sense. Positive work, negative work, and zero work. Before tayo mag-proceed dyan, let's look first into our common sense. Pag sinabi nating positive work, obviously, these are the three conditions na meron tayo. Pag sinabi nating zero work, one of the three conditions, two of the three conditions, or all the conditions are not met or pwedeng perpendicular siya. So, medyo meron lang tayong problema is yung negative work. What does this mean or how does this differentiate with the three types of work? So, first, let's use this GIF, GIF, whatever you want to call it, which is a lady or Kim Bok-ju lifting a barbell. Okay, so first let's look at the positive. First, force and displacement are parallel with each other and the three conditions are met. Tingnan natin tong pag-pull ni Kim Bok-ju going upward. The barbell is going upward. So the displacement is moving upward. Obviously, the force of Kim Bok-ju is also going upward. So yung three conditions natin, they are parallel, may force, may displacement or distance, ay pasok. So ibig sabihin, this is a positive work. Let's go with negative work and zero work. So tingnan muna natin yung term na negative work. Meron tayong ditong term na anti-parallel. At the same time, the three conditions for work are met. And we also know that for zero work, pag perpendicular siya, hindi zero siya, or one of the three conditions or two of the three conditions are not met. So, obviously, we already know what zero and positive work are. So, yung negative work na lang yung medyo may problem tayo. Now, let's look into, kasi itong first picture na to, obviously, carried lang ni Kim Bok-ju lifted lang pala ni, sige, carried yung term, or hawak niya lang yung barbell. Wala namang movement, so zero work siya. So, let's use a different colored pen for this one. So, gagamitin natin ulit yung picture ni Kim Bok-ju here. So, alam na natin that when it's going upward, you can see that the force is going upward, the barbell is going upward. Pero itong going downward, kita nyo yan? Itong going downward na barbell. Ito, yan. Going downward na barbell. You can see that if we're going to focus on the barbell, the displacement of the barbell is going downward. So, hopefully nahiling po ha, pababa baga si barbell. Let me ask you, what about the force? Is the force going downward or going upward? Sige, some of you might answer, yan, pababa, di ba? Some of you might answer, the forcer is going downward. Hindi po siya tamang answer. Bakit hindi tamang answer yung going downward? If the barbell is already going downward, and the force applied by Kim Bok-chu is also downward, what will happen to her? Mababari ang payo niya kasi mahuhulog sa iya si barbell. So what you can see here is that the force is actually going upward. Ayan, wait natin to ha. Ayan, the force is actually going upward because it is as the support force on the barbell para di siya mahulog sa iya. But the displacement is going downward. This is what we call your anti-parallel. So, they're still parallel but they're on the opposite direction. So, pwedeng left, right, up, and down. So, hopefully, nahihiling po ha. The three conditions are still met but when we talk about how parallel they are, opposite lang po yung force and displacement nila or anti-parallel. Let's not use the term opposite. Anti-parallel. Another example is push-up para mas maintindihan. So, halimbawa, nagpo-push up. Sige, sabihin natin nagpo-push up na yan ha. If you're doing push-ups, so I just imagine a person doing push-ups. You know that the body is going upward, right? The body is going upward. So, the displacement is going up. So, halimbawa, nagpo-push. Pero, yung pushing down niya ay going downward. So, this is anti-parallel, pushing downward, but the movement of the body is going upward. So, this is what we call by negative work. Another example is climbing a tree. Pag masakat ka sa puno, your force is going downward, but you are going upward, right? So, there are a lot of scenarios that talks about negative work and negative work or shows us that there is negative work. So, I hope you understand the difference between positive, negative, and zero. Positive, all three conditions are met. Zero, perpendicular siya or one of the three conditions are not met. While for negative work, all of the conditions are there but the force and displacement are anti-parallel with each other. Okay. So, obviously, this is just the same. You can see here, this is just showing you na halimbawa meron kang string attached or there's an angle involved. It's just basically the same. So, you just read this one because it's self-explanatory. Okay. So, let's have a short activity. Asan na yun? Ayan. So, let's identify if it's positive, negative, or zero work. So, you can see here, it's a little bit different on the handouts that we have because on the handouts po, nakalagay mas specific. Meron tayong work done on the baby, work done by the elevator, work done by gravity, work done by gravity. Because, technically, if we're not going to be specific, you can argue that, sir, pwede naman tong positive pwede naman tong zero. So, para walang problema, let's discuss this in a sense na mas madali siyang maintindihan. A boy throwing a baseball, obviously this is positive work. If you have a problem with this one, na hindi siya positive, tingnan mo kaagad, balikan mo yung definition. Next, a mother dancing with her baby in her arms. Her baby is just carried, so basically the work done on the baby is zero. Okay? Kasi carried niya lang po. Maski nagbabayli siya, si baby kapot-kapot niya man lang. So, if you're going to look into the handouts, work done on the baby yung finocus namin. A basket being lifted. So, if the basket is like this, so, sabihin tong basket na yan, being lifted, it's going upward. So, the force is also going upward. We can call this positive work as well. Next, a person as in an ascending elevator. So, if this is the person on an ascending elevator, ang nakalagay po dyan ay work done by the elevator. Okay? The work done by the elevator is going upward. However, work done by the elevator. Okay. So, since we're talking about work done by the elevator is going upward. So, sana yun? Sana pa, ayan. And then, the movement is also going upward. So, this is positive work. However, if we're going to look into work done by the person on the elevator, opposite na yung mangyayari. So, ano pong ibig sabihin natin yan? So, if we're going to look work done by the person on the elevator, yung elevator is going upward. However, yung force of the gravity or the weight of the man is going downward. We can say that this is negative work. So you can see here that if we're going to specify kung kaninong work done ng meron tayo, iba yung lalabas sa kanya. Okay? For this is ascending, ha? So, paano naman kung descending elevator? So, descending elevator naman tayo. So, work done by the elevator, going downward, it's still positive. Work done by the person on the elevator, going down naman yung descending tayo, yung force of gravity is also going downward. So, ibig sabihin, this is also positive. So, I hope this one is clear dahil napakadali lang naman niya. Next, a stone is being carried by the girl. Carried yung term niya. So, this is 0 work. Number 6, a big box dragged across the floor. Drag yung term. So, this is positive. Man climbing a tree. Work done by gravity tayo. Climbing a tree is negative. Girl jumping up. Work done by gravity ulit tayo. Negative. Okay? So, I hope these 8 problems are clear. If you have any questions, just send me a message or your teachers because they can explain it kung meron kayong questions. But basically, common sense man lang po niyo, madali man lang siya. You already know how to do free body diagrams. You can draw what is happening on that specific scenario. Okay. Sige. So, work is f dot d or work is just f d cosine theta or f cosine theta d. So, napakadali lang naman niya. Okay, so let's use this problem. So you can see already here yung problem na meron tayo, which is already on your handouts. Napakadali lang naman niya. So Amy uses 20 newtons of force to push a lawnmower for 10 meters. How much work does she do? So if there's no angle involved, you just look into the definition. Okay? Kasi dito, you can see that the angle is 0 or it lies on the same plane. So, wala kang problema. So, cosine 0 is just 1. So, pag multiply mo, parang it's non-existent in a sense. So, work is f dot d or f dot d cosine theta, but you can just multiply it kasi cosine theta is just 0. Cosine 0 is just 1. So, ano lang naman siya. So, the force is 20 newtons while the distance is 10 meters. So, you have 20 newtons times 10 meters will give you 200 joules. Diba? Very, very easy. Next, let's have this example, long example. Okay, Shani pulls a 10-kilogram luggage along a level road for 5 meters by exerting a force of 20 newtons at an angle of 30 degrees. After some time, she lifts the luggage and places it on her shoulder with a vertical distance of 1.5 meters and carries it for another 5 meters. How much work does she do by pulling, lifting, and carrying the luggage? So, before we solve this one, let's first indicate. Kung di mo naiintindihan ang nangyayari, sabi mo, Sir, ano man yung halabaon? Let's list first all the given. Okay? Okay. Let's list first all the given. Nakalagay dyan yung given natin. Pakitingnan nyo na lang. Asan na yung pen ko? My pen is gone. Okay, let's try to use different color for ano naman, given, para mas madaling makita. Alright. So, the mass of the bag is 10 kilograms. The movement, yung first movement niya ay 5 meters. Force applied is 20 newtons. The angle involved is 30 degrees. The vertical distance is 1.5 meters. And then, the second distance na pinuntahan ay 5 meters. Okay? So, if we're going to do a rough drawing of Shani moving, so si Shani daw ay may hawak na bag. Sabihin natin ito na yung bag niya, which is 30 degrees. Okay? So, yung angle natin dito ay 30 degrees. Nag-move daw siya ng 5 meters. Okay? So, hopefully nakikita to ha. So, this is the first part. Next, nagpundo siya because she had to lift the bag. Hawak niya na yung bag dito. Sige, hawak niya yung bag dito and then she lift it for a vertical distance of 1.5 meters. And then, after some time, nag-move siya na hawak-hawak niya yung bag or lifted niya yung bag or carried niya yung bag. Ayan, carried niya yung bag dyan ng 5 meters pa. Okay? So, this is your D sub 1. This is your dy. This is your d. The force is 20 newtons. What else? The mass is 10 kilograms. Okay, so hopefully nakikita yung difference nila. The question from the problem is that ano daw yung pulling. Second one is lifting. And then the third one is carrying. Okay, so if you're going back to the problem, it states that the question is basically solve for the force, solve how much work does she do on pulling, lifting, and carrying the luggage. So, napakadali lang naman niya if you're going to look into the problem. Medyo dakol lang si given, so baka na-stress ka mo. So, first, let's start with pulling, okay? So, let's identify that work is just basically F dot D. So, this is just F cosine theta D, alright? So, you can see that the force is just 20 newtons. The angle is cosine 30 degrees multiplied by the distance, which is 5 meters. So, the work done by pulling of Shani is 86.60 joules. Diba? Napakadali. So, done na tayo with the first part, which is just pulling. Next is lifting. Okay, they're going to use work is equal to force times distance. Okay, so try to observe that the distance here is already the vertical distance that we're talking about. This is the vertical distance. And then for the force that you have here, anong force ang gagamitin natin? Since it's lifting, going upward yung ginagawa natin, you have to look for the force. Baka magtanong kayo, sir, wala naman pong force dito. The force that we're talking about here is the weight of the bag. If you remember the difference between mass and weight, you know that weight is just a kind of force that is dependent on the gravity. So, weight of the bag yung kukunin natin. So, remember that weight is just mass times your gravity. So, basically, the mass is 10 kilograms multiplied by ano nga yung gravity? 9.8 meters per second squared. So, the weight of the bag is 98 newtons. Okay, so this will be now, ito yung gagamitin natin na force for the lifting part. So, work becomes 98 newtons multiplied by the distance, which is vertical 1.5 meters. The work done is equivalent to 147 joules. So, hopefully, same yung nakuha sa akin. Okay? Next is carrying. The last question involves carrying. You know that hindi mo na kailangan mag-solve. Work is just 0. Remember that when you're carrying, you're perpendicular. The force is perpendicular with your displacement. So, there is no work. So, there is 0 work. Okay? So, very, very easy problems. So, yan lang. So, this is it, I think, for the video of work. The next topic will include the definition on energy, kinetic potential, and then how work and energy are related with each other. Okay? So, thank you.